Tanakoto katoa, and welcome all of you to a session that probably, if anything, will confirm to you that you're in the right place. You probably have seen some opportunity at your own work or some opportunity in other companies where you say, that is absolutely the perfect job for me. You have the right work experience. You've done this. You have this. And then somebody with an MBA waving that piece of paper around and only a few years of experience will rush by you and get that job, and that really ticks you off. And that will probably get worse over time. So we're here today to let you know what your choices are, to make yourself much more visible at work, to add some skills that make you people that are much more leadership than management or operations, people who stand a little bit above the daily work and learn how to be inspiring, how to make great things happen, and at the same time, how to make a difference in your communities, make good money, make the family happy, and feel really good about what you have achieved. We have a star-studded team here today, and I was going around the room: Mandy Welsh, Rebecca Buchanan, Susan Sum. We have Deetha somewhere, and we have Connor behind the scene doing the slides. And I'm very grateful for Mark Wilson, who is joining us today. Mark is a student from us, and he will tell you pretty much from the trenches what this is all about. But I would think there's a little voice in your head that for months, maybe even years, has told you you got to do something. And tonight is the chance for you to hear what you can actually do. And I'll turn it over to Deetha.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. This program has been built keeping in mind that you are all working professionals and you have other commitments as well. And that's really what we've kept in mind while we're building and designing, structuring this program for you. Flexibility is again something that we really want to be able to give you. We have the convenience of two locations, and that's the Albany and the Auckland Airport. We also try to make it extremely practical, allowing you to take back your learnings to work and then also bring back from work and your personal life into the classroom to discuss the best way that you can go forward with if you've got a problem at work. We also understand that you are all working professionals, and the best way for you to learn is really a 360-degree learning experience. And that's what we bring into the Executive MBA as well. We give you the opportunity not only to learn from the academics, but to learn from people in the market who are willing to come in and share their insights with you. And you also are learning from your peers who are from varied backgrounds, again, giving you that widening learning through the Executive MBA. And we're very proud to say that we're globally recognized. And that really comes from putting our program through rigorous rankings and accreditation processes to be able to get that stamp of our quality standards that we have on offer here. And let me tell you a little bit on the next slide about what this really means. And the Executive MBA is extremely forward focused. So we're looking at how we can build you in terms of ensuring that you can take that next step in your career, take your company to that next step, or really be able to put yourself in the position to make those crucial decisions for success in your career, as well as if you want to expand your business. And this is really giving you that confidence. So through the program, there's self-reflection and there's learning that you would go through, allowing you to understand where you currently are at and where you want to be, and then fueling that with knowledge and skills to be able to reach that goal that you've got. And it's extremely globally focused as well, allowing you to take that knowledge and skills anywhere in the world and to meet success. So that's really the Executive MBA that we have here on offer. And on the next slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how that's really fueled. And that's really with the capability, the capacity, the confidence, the connections, and the courage that you would get throughout your Executive MBA journey here at Massey University. This is really an opportunity for you to, again, self-reflect, but also look at your career, look at the broader departments in your business, and look at how you can influence every department to be able to meet success. Again, we're all here for your success, and we're constantly ensuring that you go on this journey to meet success when you complete the Executive MBA program. And all of this confidence that we have that you're going to hear from all of us today is really the pride that we get with all of the accreditations and the rankings that we have got from various associations. And on the next slide, we're going to talk to you a little bit about these accreditations. So we've actually been recognized and given that stamp of quality standard by AACSB, which is the American Accreditation Board, and associations of AMBA. And in fact, the associations of AMBA has given us the longest accreditation that they give out, which is 5 years. So we're extremely happy and proud that AMBA has recognized the work that has gone into designing this program for you. We also put our program through rankings. So on the next slide, we're going to look at the rankings that we've got. Now, we don't only put the program as a whole, but we also look at different departments in the business school at Massey University, and they've been ranked as well. And these are the departments that we pull our academic staff from to be able to come and share their knowledge with you on the Executive MBA program. We've been ranked #1 by Shanghai rankings, and we're top 3% by the QS rankings. So we're, again, extremely, extremely proud of all we've achieved and the program that we've designed for you as well. Now, before we talk to you about the Executive MBA, which is going to be the focus this evening, let me talk to you a little bit about the suite of programs that we have on offer. And on the next slide, we're going to look at the 3 programs that we have on offer. Of course, the focus is Executive MBA or EMBA, as you might hear us refer to the program throughout this evening. And that's really where you have classes every 6th weekend. You've got 16 hours per course to focus and complete that course successfully. Again, the flexibility with offering the course at the Albany campus as well as the Auckland airport. You've got only 14 months to complete the program, plus some time for project work as well. In addition to this, we've also got the MBA Online, which is a fully online program. You can take this from anywhere in the world because it's completely online, and it takes you somewhere between 18 to 24 months to complete. But again, because of the flexibility, you have up to 5 years to complete the program. Our third program that we have on offer is the MBA Full-Time, which is much more synchronized learning, where you need to come into the Albany campus 3 times a week, which is about 12 hours of study per week that you need to be in with your lecturer and your class. It's a program that's completed in exactly 12 months. So all 3 of our programs are extremely practical as well as flexible. I'm just going to hand it over to my colleague, Mandy, who's going to talk to you about the Executive MBA program in detail now.
The image you can see here are some of our students and Professor Jens Mueller at graduation in November. Obviously, it's with the mascot. He's not one of our students there at the bottom. But what we're kind of saying to you is there's a variety of people that come in and study with us. They come from all different backgrounds. Is EMBA right for you? If you are looking for strategy and governance and leadership skills with strong personal growth thrown in, then the EMBA is the one for you. People often come into our program looking for one thing. They think they want to be the GM of the company they currently work for. And as they're exposed to different ways of thinking and different opportunities, they might decide that they change their mind altogether and go into a different field. And I'll talk a little bit about that shortly when I kind of introduce you to some of our alumni. But we will open your eyes to endless possibilities. And that's really our role here, is to push you out of your comfort zone and to expose you to things that you hadn't really thought about before. So if you want to join us, generally we like people to have a degree, but if you don't, there are pathways. So don't panic about that. You just need to talk to us. We do need you to have good work experience, though, at least 7 years, and then 3 of those should be in management. We have students who join us from every sector, from owner-operators, SMEs, government departments, large corporates, small business, not-for-profits, owner-operators, everything, and they come from all over New Zealand. Diversity is what we're looking for. We want people to learn from each other. About 40% of the learning actually comes from the people in the room. So as you start to problem solve, people will put in their experiences, whether in New Zealand or overseas, and you really do learn from that. And on the next slide, we're going to talk about the 6 competencies, our promises to you. This is what we are going to deliver to you. In other words, these are tools for your toolbox, and they make you more valuable to your employer and also to any future employers. One of our alumni once said that when she first started her Executive MBA journey, it was like going into a room and one corner of it was really brightly lit. That was what she knew. By the time she'd finished, the whole room was brighter and there were hundreds of light switches. She knew where to go and find information, where to go and to connect with other people. And so her knowledge wasn't just what she had stored, it's where she knew to go and look for it. And it's really opened her career up to all kinds of different things. On the next slide, we talk about the features of our program. These are the features that will set you up to be successful, and they include networking and career coaching, lots of exposure to consultancy, lots of exposure to governance tools and people who are engaged with governance in New Zealand and internationally. It'll allow you to try a whole variety of things in a very secure and protected environment. Our staff are what we call pracademics. They are people who've been engaged in business, who also are academics. So they know what it's like to work on the coalface. They're not just theorists. The other thing I want to draw to your attention is the pictures that you're seeing through this are actually our students. They are people like you. They are just like you, and they've taken the journey, and then they have finished, or some of them are still studying on some of the images that you're going to see here. All right, on the next slide, really exciting. We are going back to study tours. Obviously, COVID put the kibosh on that, but we are really excited that our students are going to be able to travel this year. And these are their destinations. You have a choice of 2 tours. They will broaden your horizon, you'll look at scale, you'll make connections and you'll network overseas, and you'll also do international consultancy while you're away. What a great thing to have on your CV. Let's talk about how long it takes and what you're going to be exposed to. So you should be able to finish in 22 months. You can take a little bit longer if you need it, but most of our students are finished in 22 months. The average age in the class is 41, but it ranges from 29 to 59. The average work experience is 20 years, but it ranges from 7, which is our minimum, up to 40. The average management experience is 10 years, but it ranges from 3, which is the minimum, to 28. And in our current class, we have students who come from Wanaka in the south to Whangarei in the north. And we even have 2 students who fly in from Rarotonga. Every 6 weeks they come into class from Rarotonga. And with the class that's going to start this year, we're going to have an entrepreneur joining us from Sweden. So he's going to stay with us for 2 years and study with us. So if you join us, you are going to be exposed to an entrepreneur who's done very well in his career, and he will be able to add something to your class and he will learn something from you. All right. The return on investment. You can see here that 72% have improved roles during the Executive MBA. 21% of those have moved on to executive or director roles, and 7% have become self-employed. Many of them are involved in consultancy. So as Dith has said, there are 2 cohorts in the first year. One is at Auckland, on the Auckland campus, which is in Albany, and the other is at an Auckland airport, which is at the Novotel airport, which is right outside the international terminal. And then you stay for the night, and then the next day you do your class and you all finish by 4 o'clock and off you go home. So there are 10 weekends in the Executive MBA, and you can see here that the courses are offset. So if you can't do, for example, leadership and people in Auckland campus, then you might do it at the airport hotel. So that allows you some flexibility in that first year. Just a reminder that there are no exams in our courses. We do have some tests, some concept tests, and we do have assessments, but you don't have to hold that knowledge till the end of the semester and then have a big exam. We start with an orientation, so we set you all up, and then both classes come together, do law, then you do the 3 courses in the separate groups, and then you do come back together and do contemporary strategy. And then you do those 2 courses, number 6 and number 7. Number 8, you actually can do throughout the year. It's a portfolio course. It's an amazing platform where you can upload all kinds of information, hold it there, and then when it's time to do that course, you can pull it all together. And so in the 2nd year, it's all about implementing your learning in a larger strategic focus. So there are only 3 classes to attend. The portfolio course and the project course, you do not need to come into class. I've got little asterisks beside them. That means you don't actually need to come into a class. Governance has been upgraded this year, and it's going to be unbelievably amazing. Professor Jens takes that one, so we might talk about that in a minute. And it's an opportunity for you to work with and on and observe a board in action. Strategic Management and International Business course is where you go away on your study tour. So that's another exciting opportunity there with loads of international consultancy. There are a few of our courses that involve consultancy, so you get some really good skills there. The Executive MBA also, I think Ditha mentioned, is direct entry as an affiliate member into Governance New Zealand. So when you've finished, there are 4 courses that they look at, and once you've finished those, you get affiliate membership into Governance New Zealand, which is actually a worldwide organisation called Chartered Governance Institute Global, and you can have little letters behind your name. So that's a nice bonus, isn't it? So Niraj is now the CEO of Toyota New Zealand. I can remember when he came to an information evening, just like you are, he did not want to do the EMBA. He didn't want to do any study, actually, but Toyota was pushing him. After his first course, he was hooked, and he became our top student, actually, for that stream. He realised, like he said there, that there was information, there was learnings that he thought he knew, that he actually didn't have either all of the data information that he needed, or that he could actually expand his knowledge. And so after he finished his Executive MBA, in fact, just before he finished, he went off on a 3-year contract to the USA with Toyota. And when he came back, he had a couple of more years with Toyota, and then he became the CEO. Sarah, on the right-hand side, was working as a business manager and chartered accountant for a clothing company. And she went on our study tour to Europe. And while she was there, it resonated with her about sustainable food distribution and waste reduction. It was one of her little passions just on the side. And when she came back to New Zealand, she decided that she wanted to start her own. It's an online supermarket. Sam MacGyver from Beef and Lamb, he was a project manager, a program and project manager for Meat and Wool New Zealand. He's always been involved in agriculture. And that's when he started his EMBA in 2002. We've been doing this a long time, by the way. His first CEO role was 3 years later, and he has subsequently had 3 more CEO roles. The last one is the lovely Annette Kendall, and she was passionate about improving small town New Zealand, and that's why she decided to do her EMBA. And when she completed it, she toured the country with her research. She did this amazing research about the invigoration of small towns, and she always says that if she had never in her wildest dreams did she think that was something that she was going to do. So when I said to you earlier about how you come in thinking about one thing and it ends up being something else, that is really true almost for all of these people. I think only Niraj thought he was ever going to be the CEO. The rest of them, I think, just were really interested in upskilling themselves and getting that CV all sorted. All right, so let's talk about cost now. Most students fund themselves through the student loan system, so you are eligible for the student loan system to study a master's. The fees can be, if you're going to fund yourself, the fees can be allocated each semester, or you can do it month by month, and we can arrange that for you. Within that cost, please note that all of your ebooks, your study materials, and your catering on contact days are included in that cost. You do need to arrange your own accommodation and your own travel if you are from outside of the Auckland area. Corporate scholarship sponsorship is also really important for you to ask the question. Always go out and ask your employer if they're prepared to support you. In 2021, 10 of our EMBA students were either fully or partially funded by their employer, and 14 in 2022. Now, these are only the students that we know about that pay Massey directly. There are lots of employers who give their employees that $5,000 development money, or they pay for their travel, or they allow them to have time off. So there's always ways that you can ask your employer to do that, because it is really beneficial to them. And in that scholarship document that's going to be available to you, we talk about that. All right, now, the most important thing, somebody who has invested in themselves and their career is Mark Wilson. He's our speaker tonight. Mark is joining us from Melbourne, where he now works following a fantastic job opportunity where he's head of airfield at Melbourne Airport. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Mark. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Mandy, and kia ora, everyone. Yeah, really great to be able to come along tonight and talk to you all and share some of my experiences, I guess. Talk through my journey a little bit, talk about, the feelings that I had coming into it about 2 years ago. I was on a call very similar to this, asking myself, am I, do I have capability to be able to do this? Can I fit it in? Am I good enough? All of those kinds of questions, which probably some of the thoughts that many of you are having at the moment as well. But I can give you some confidence that after having the decision and making that decision, pressing go on it, being accepted, and then after that first weekend up in Auckland, all of those feelings went away. You soon meet everybody and you realise that everybody has those feelings and they're completely normal, and you're all in the same boat, and you start to form that team that, you stick pretty closely with for the next 14 months or so. So, yeah, great to be here this evening. I guess my journey, I started out, I was living in Auckland. I was Operations Performance Delivery Manager at Auckland Airport. I didn't think that I would be living in Melbourne or moving at part of the busiest time of the EMBA. But yeah, when opportunities come up, you grab them. And I think that opportunity wouldn't have come up without having learned what I had learned already on the EMBA, and having been able to put on my CV that I was currently studying and working towards completing the MBA. So it was quite interesting during the interview process. I moved over here about 8 months ago, but during the interview process, I soon learnt that my boss had an EMBA and the CEO of Melbourne Airport also had an EMBA. So we were able to talk about the EMBA, what we'd learnt, and I think then them having completed it and knowing what they got from doing an EMBA gave them some confidence that someone else doing an EMBA would come out with those same learnings, because it is quite amazing for myself anyway, how after that first weekend, the practical nature and the way that Massey structured their EMBA, you really can apply that knowledge straight away. Our first course was law. To me, that was quite daunting. I came from an operations background, had never really delved into the law space much before. Having completed that, I remember we were moving into COVID at that point, or in COVID. We were having a lot of discussions around the processes and the way we do things at the airport, a lot of contracts sitting behind those because it was change, and just being able to add value at the table was something that I probably would have normally sat there relatively quiet until an operational discussion came up. But when you get this knowledge which wraps around all of business, it's quite amazing how you can insert value into any conversation, which is great. And it's a great feeling for yourself, and it's good for your brand, and it adds value to the business that you're working for as well. So for me, that's certainly one of the things that I gained from it. I think another thing that I gained was you get the opportunity to do pieces of work, assessments, assignments for something, and you can be quite strategic about how you do those or what you do those for. So doing those for your business connects you to the people that you want to be connected to within your business, and you can show, how much value you can provide. So lots of opportunities like that where you get to meet, GMs or the CE or whoever. You get closer to that executive level of your business just by putting in the effort to do something that helps the business. For myself, for my research piece, which comes at the tail end of the course, I had just moved to Australia, same industry, but didn't have many industry contacts. So I did my research on something that would help all of aviation within Australia. Teamed up with Airport Association Australia, did a piece of work for them, subsequently have spoken at the annual conference around that, now working with them around leadership and development plans for operational people leaders within Australia. So for me, that was a way of meeting industry and also policymakers within industry. So I think that you can be a little bit strategic around how you play some of those pieces of work and add value for yourself, but for those that are the people that you want to get to meet. So I guess in a nutshell, for me, EMBA, really enjoyed it, loved it. I'd studied before. It took me 12 years to do a bachelor's degree, probably because that was a different way of studying. For me, sitting down, learning the book back to front, and then doing an exam, it doesn't really work for me. I got myself through it, but it was a breath of fresh air coming into this course where you're working with a good team of people, you're in a like-minded people within the cohort, you get to do most of the learning within the 3 days or whichever, airport or Auckland, whichever course you do, and then you get to go away and do the group work and your individual assignments. And for me, that's an easier way of learning, a more enjoyable way of learning, and I was able to stay engaged all the way along it and quite enjoyed it. So that was my experience. Workload, certainly I'm sure you have questions about workload. You make it work if you want it. You really make it work. You put in the effort. You get onto things early, and you don't leave things till last minute. But you will find a way to be able to make that work. And then before you know it, you're at the end of it and potentially talking to a group of people that are hoping to do the EMBA themselves. So that's a little bit about my journey in a snapshot in a couple of minutes, but I'll hang on. I'm more than happy to take questions whenever the right time for that is.
And now we'll just move on to Professor Jens Mueller.
Well, thank you, Mandy, and thank you, Mark. Great story. And if you hadn't kind of gone that far yet, we will probably still have to work on your grade and upgrade that a little bit, because you've done really well, and we're proud of that. There are really three thoughts that go through your mind when you come to a session like this. One is, do I really have to do this? Most of you have good work experience. You have undergraduate degrees. Your parents, my parents went through their whole life with just high school, sometimes a degree. Why can't I do that? Do I really have to do this? The next thing is, why would I pick Massey? And the very last one is there a risk that I fail? And if you kind of think through that, the first part, yes, you have to do it, or something like it, because you will not forgive yourself in the next couple of years when you see other people do what you could do, and you just don't have the qualifications. Your challenge is going to be that people who hire you are going to be general managers, CEO, board level people, and they are risk adverse. They don't want to be held to account later on if you don't work out, that somebody says, how could you have hired that Muppet? They didn't have any qualifications. And so they start to shy back from taking risk. And of course, there's nothing more that endorses you as an all-around player than an executive MBA, MBA being a generalist degree, and executive being able to lead forward. Nobody hires you for a good performance this month or next month. You're supposed to be there for years, take on challenging roles and move on. So the answer is you got to do this or something else. And this is probably the best game in town. The second part is why you would pick Massey. We're the biggest MBA shop in the country, 3 locations, 3 universities, huge business school. But what we do different from anyone else in New Zealand is that we don't focus on the academic side. We have some universities that chase after rankings. We have great rankings, top 300, 270 something in the world. So we're happy with that. But our MBA shop is a practitioner experience. Rather than sitting in a classroom with students and professor, you would be like in a boardroom with the CEO or a board chair. Totally different dynamics. This is like at work. And in every course, we will cycle through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in law. When Mark was there, about 8 or 9 practitioners who come from the outside. They will come in and tell you what they do every day, not what they read of somebody else's slides that were published 10 years ago. So if you have kind of a, goosebumps on the back of your neck going, oh God, I really don't want to go back to university. Look, we have procedure for everything. We are a huge bureaucratic shop, but in the MBA, it's all practical. We get to hire people who are the best in their field. They do not even have to work for Massey in order to present to you. And about a third of our presenters do not work at Massey. They're just really, really good. And the last one is, can I actually do this? Nobody wants to spend the money, get the family all excited. Your coworkers will know. They want to know on a Monday after one of your class weekends what you have learned, and then you don't pass. I've done this. This will be my 40th year in teaching MBA this year. And I can, on the fingers of both hands, and I'm not a butcher, I got all fingers, I can count the people who have academically failed. You have to work harder on failing than on passing. If we tell you what to do, you do that, then this is a one-stop train. You get on, the next stop is graduation. You don't have to worry about taking courses, picking electives. You don't have to worry about schedules. This is all pre-made for you. And there is a team, you meet them here today, of people who do nothing else but make sure that we can work around your schedule. There's always a course where you have a schedule conflict, and then we'll tell you take it at the different location. There's always an assessment you can't finish because the horse died. There are all sorts of things that will happen in busy lives, and we understand that and work around that. This is a place where if we accept you, and we take about 1 out of 3.8 people that apply, if we accept you, then we know that you will be able to complete this, and we want you to complete that. Doesn't look good for us if we have in the second year empty chairs, which we can't resell. This program is always full. It's the only 240 credit program in the area, one smidgen short of a PhD. And what you're getting in terms of the connection to corporate, the ability to connect to governance, leadership, board, company director roles, and then also being able to consult overseas, all things that make you special in your CV. No one else does that. So what you're getting here is an instant boost, not just you yourself feeling great about what you can contribute, but you will be perceived, you will be seen by others as someone who suddenly, where did that come from? Talks about stuff that before you've held back on. And look, you can't market a secret. So if you want to be seen, you want to be visible, you want to be singled out for promotion and get a chance to do bigger things, you've got to be there and participate. And this is your ability, your platform that raises you high and does that. On that happy note, I will give you back to Mandy.
Great, thanks for that. We're going to talk a little bit now about support. And Mark alluded to the fact that you can be really worried when you first make a start. Look, don't be. We have support coming up the wazoo. Massey has huge amounts of support for itself, but our MBA, EMBA team are also there to give you all the support that you need. We start with orientation, and we have a maths and Excel refresher for those that are phobic about maths. We have an online platform. The Career Accelerator is there to get you to that next role. And one of the things Jens talked about actually is around your image that you have, and your online image in particular, your personal brand. And so we're going to help you with things like that, as well as interview techniques and all kinds of things like that. The mental gym is something that some of you may have already attended with us. So the mental gym is for our EMBA and MBA people before they start. The next one we have is a Get Ready to Learn session for our EMBA students. And that's on the 1st of February, and there'll be a link in the document at the end. And then the one after that is one of Jens's ones, which is the implications of law and business, and that's on the 8th of February. So you're welcome to join us for those. Try before you buy. Also meet some of the other people who might be in the class with you. That's always really helpful. And we obviously have dedicated support people. Susan Summers here tonight, and she looks after our EMBA students, as do all of us. The other thing that I'd really like to talk about the Massey support is the Centre of Teaching and Learning, or of Learning Success. They have a pre-reading service, which is amazing. So you can put your assessment in, they will critique it, and then they send it back to you, especially those early assessments when you're getting back into study or you haven't studied for a while. The other area that I want to talk about is, no, that's it. Sorry, I'm trying to go fast because I know you've got some questions to ask. So let's go on to the next slide, which is what happens next. So if you would like to enrol for the Executive MBA, you can do it without any risk whatsoever, because what you need to do is to send our office your CV, your transcript. There's an application form, and I can send that to you once you've made your other application. We just need to know the names of 2 business referees, names and email addresses, and we will sort it all out from there. We do it all in-house. You'll have a discussion with Jens, and then if we're happy, we ask you to go on and enroll. And at that stage, you know you are going to be accepted. So the whole thing about that is that it's without risk. You can talk to us. We can support you. I'm happy to critique a CV before you submit it, if that's what you'd like to do. Happy to let you know what the process would be if you don't have a degree, so that we can support and help you all the way through. And as Yen said, once you've been accepted, we expect you to be successful, because we have screened you properly. And all you need to do is put in that work hard, use all of the resources that are available to you at Massey, within the MBA office, within your work group, and within the people that support around your wider network of friends. And with that, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Ditha, and we're going to have some general questions. So please use the chat, ask some questions, and because this is your opportunity, and then we can help you with that decision making. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mandy. We're going to start with Jens this evening. Jens, would you mind talking to us a little bit about what a typical weekend would look like on the Executive MBA teaching?
Oh, well, it will be the most fun-filled weekend that you will have that week. The good thing is it's only 10. So with 10 weekends over 14 months, you're pretty much sorted. And then we have that consulting report at the end. You would rock up around 9, 10 o'clock, depending on whether it's an airport location where you fly in and we start a little later, or whether it's the Albany location where you would start a little sooner because you're driving in. And you would start usually with an introduction of the topic. You would have had some Zoom sessions before just to warm you up and get you going. There will be some guest speakers coming in. Then there will most likely be several cases that are existing real life cases that one of the guest speakers, CEO or a leader of a company, will bring in, and you'll discuss that in a group, come up with solutions, practice your skills to have compelling arguments that you can give back to somebody who runs their business, make yourself valuable. And then you most likely have one of the 3 assessments that you will have in a course already taken care of during that weekend. And then typically the next assessments would come as group sessions or an individual one in the week after. We try to make sure that all of your coursework is done about 10 days or so after the weekend. That gives you time to prepare for the next run. And these weekends, only 10 over 14 months, are probably average 6 to 8 weeks apart, depending on holidays and rugby schedule and stuff like that.
Excellent. Thank you. That's a really nice segue to the question that we've got in the chat box, Jens. And this is really about how is the Massey EMBA program creating business leaders that do business in a new way that leads to a more prosperous world as opposed to business leaders that destroy it?
Yep,
Excellent question.
That's a fantastic question, and that in itself would be a whole weekend we can talk about. And as you know, I'm kind of shy, so I won't get many words. And the idea here is that in the past we had looked at shareholders and we had looked at money, and you can tell already that that's a very limiting way to look at how value is created. We now look at stakeholders, we look at communities. And for instance, your contemporary strategy course in the EMBA second year is one where you will take on as a consulting client a large national community organization in order to help them perform better. So we train leaders not on the concept of focused only on money and shareholder gains. If you run a business, you need to be able to pay the bills. You need the money, you need to uptrain people, and you clearly need to have income. But that is the last bit. The money comes in at the end after you've done all the other things right. And as a leader, you will need many other people and group and stakeholders to support you. You need to be motivating. You need to have an ear to the ground of what is happening overseas. That's why this program has such a big global footprint. And we absolutely make sure that when you finish this, you are not just a leader in your organization, but you are absolutely qualified to sit as company director on boards of other organizations. And that's pretty much the pinnacle for a manager to be asked in to help someone else run their business.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jens. Mandy, would you be able to talk to us a little bit about how we can prepare ourselves after a long break from study for the Executive MBA?
Yes. One of the things, if you've got time, there's a lot of reading. I think Mark would agree. There's tons of reading that you need to do. So if you can do some kind of work around being able to assimilate information that you need to recall, and also it's almost like academic reading. There's a whole pile of articles that I've found in the past that will help you with that. Speed reading can help, but if you're only going to skim, that's not helpful. Being able to take good notes is really good. When you are offered a place from our office, I send you a huge range of resources that you can start working on. So there's things like, how do you answer academic questions? You know, how do you reference a piece of work? There are videos that you can watch. There are little tests that you can do. There's the maths and the Excel refresher. So those are the type of preparatory things that you might like to do. But we know that you haven't been studying for a while. So we have an orientation that sets you up really well. And we connect you with people who can help you if you need additional support. You really shouldn't be worried about it because if you are open and honest with us, we will give you every inch of support that we can as long as you put in the work.
Would you also be able to tell us what a typical day looked like with your study and work and family and everything else that you really have to manage through the day?
Yeah, typical day. So there's always work, need to go to work. So that happens. I guess after that, it depends, for myself, I liked to do most of my work during the weekend. I would do, when it was really busy, I would do maybe a couple of hours on the weeknights, but I kind of learned that for myself, I needed to make time to exercise, or I needed to make time, for my kids, and then I'd do most of my work in the weekend. So I guess a typical day depended on where you were at, because there'd be peaks and troughs with the work demand as well. There'd be times where you're in between classes and you had, a bit more freedom. But a typical day was really about knowing wherever you were at in that cycle and making sure that you had a plan to be able to get through it and then not get behind. Because when you start getting behind, it just gets more difficult and more difficult. And your work is probably going to be of a lower quality. So I think you keep yourself accountable to keep on track.
Jens, while I have you here, would you be able to talk to the question that you just answered in the chat about the public sector and the focus on community?
There are probably in every EMBA 25 to 40% of people who are coming from the public sector, partly because in New Zealand we have a very large public sector. We also have a large not-for-profit sector that takes on what in other countries the public sector would do, health, welfare, education, that is delegated to community groups. And so we have a number of people who work in a much harder environment than the normal for-profit, because they still have to deliver value. And they don't have to pay shareholders, so they can keep the money they have, but they have uncertain funding. They in many cases have people in leadership roles who are committed to the cause, but have few skills. And therefore, there is a huge upskilling that is going on in New Zealand right now in the public sector. Look, one of our current graduates who just finishes this month just became the director of nursing at Starship Hospital, a huge role that has thousands of people that she influences, and obviously a huge budget. Those are the kind of roles where you work in the public sector, but you also are held to account to achieve good outcomes. And that means you have to know how to do that. So the skills are the same.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We had some really good questions in the chat this evening, so thank you so much for sending those through. We are very conscious of time, and we know you're all busy people, so we want to let you go. And for now, I'm just going to hand it back to Professor Jens for the official close this evening.
Look, I have good news and bad news for you. The good news is that you have a chance to participate. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have the basic requirements, and we can work through with you if there is no bachelor degree, what else we can see that makes you admissible. The bad news is that you don't have much time. This program kicks into gear mid-February. It's essentially a month to go. We do this for a living, so we can still work through that month, but you don't have a month, 3 weeks, 5 weeks to think this over. You'll have to decide, are you going to fish or cut bait? And so we need to make sure that if you're serious, that we start talking about the requirements, which are not very onerous, but we need to get you into the system, have to get you admitted. And once you are admitted to the highest end master's program you can do in New Zealand, you're on track to do a very, very good job, not just for the work, but also among your friends. You will become a consultant instantly, a board advisor to all of the people that in the neighborhood run a small business. And look, it's really fun to be asked for your advice because people trust you. They know you know something more than they do. You may be the one-eyed among the blind, but you certainly know more than they do. And out of that comes a really good feeling. Thank you for coming in tonight. Thank you very much to our team for being here after the hours, and we will look forward to working with you and make sure that we get you into this program and that we make that a success for you. Good luck and bye-bye.